Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video, we're looking at another very short and very sweet exploration ship, where this one is called the Hawk-moth, which is, well, this lovely thing sitting right behind me. So this is a very small, extremely compact atmospheric ship that features a gatling gun on the front for a bit of defense, a spotlight to light up the general area in front of you so you can get a good view at the spiders that you're going to start blasting. We've got a well-balanced array of thrusters all around this thing, so it's actually surprisingly responsive in all directions. We've got an air vent sucking oxygen from the surrounding areas. We've got hydrogen tanks, we've got oxygen tanks, so you can refill up your bottles if you're carrying them on your adventure. And we also have a connection point on the side here that you can use to dock up, and we'll recharge this thing up if you want to do that. Pulling the camera all the way away, pressing F10, finding it in the spawn menu, here we go. The Hawk-moth is 106 small blocks, using the Decorative block number 3, Sparks of the Future, and Wasteland DLC packs. We've got no other bits of information about it. So simply give this a thumbs up, move around towards the very front, have a brief look around the outside, then go drive around for a bit, maybe slam it into a mountainside, then that'll be that for this video. So my character can burr off just a little bit, off he goes, and this is what we get for the very front of the Hawk-moth. So yes, as we can see, we've got a standard cockpit to drive this thing around, a bunch of these very light creamy steel blocks go all around this thing, with a slight bit grey around the bottom of the vehicle, a spotlight to light up the darkness, a gatling gun to blast very small targets, so maybe a very lightly armed drone, or mainly just spiders, wolves, or anything else you encounter in the world that can't really fight back. Down to here's an atmospheric thruster to help slow this thing down. At the very bottom is a battery to help power this thing, and all the way down to here that we can just about make out is our magnetic plate, as well as some black neon tubes acting as your landing legs. Round onto the side, there's a connector that we just talked about. There's a very clear side view of our cockpit, a couple more batteries at the back of this vehicle, some conveyors that come across from an air vent sucking oxygen from the surrounding areas, flat atmospheric thrusters for your left and right. There's another view of our battery towards our magnetic plates. Then pulling away, round towards the very back here, a large flat atmospheric thruster to keep you off the ground, even more batteries, even more thrusters, two interior lights acting as brake lights. Then all the way down to here, we see our front atmospheric thruster, and it's just twiddling around. Looking all the way up like so. There we are, gyroscope as well. Moving all the way up, looking down. There's a little parachute, so if you do get into a bit of a pickle, if your batteries do run out of charge when you're flying high above, say like a giant chasm, hopefully that will save you and save your vehicle. Anyway, onto this side, got a slightly different setup, so instead of having a connector, what we've got instead is our hydrogen and our oxygen tanks, as well as a small cargo container if you store a few bits and bobs inside, as well as to load up the ammunition for your gatling gun. Onto this section, that is the same as the opposite side, so atmospheric thrusters, battery, magnetic plates. And with that, that's a brief look around the outside, the Hawk-moth, and for what it is a very cheap solution to use in survival mode. If you want to do some light exploration, like I said, if you're on the Mars-like planet, or if you're on the Earth-like planet with wolves enabled, or any other kind of modded enemies like zombies, or maybe the robot raiders, this will do a very good job of actually shooting down those targets, and while making it safe for your unarmed vehicles to approach the area. But anyway, grab a hold of my characters, now time to come up into the cockpit, wherever the ship has gone, there it is, sort of blends into the background. Now I'm going to hop into this, lift off the ground, and this is what we get in a first person view. So we've got a very clear view all the way around. None of the sides of the cockpit have been compromised by some light steel blocks or armoured panels. And then before we go any further, looking down to here, there's your landing legs and how the neon tubes have been set up. Closer look with the camera. There we are, very simple solution that works very, very well. And then back into the character, bring out the HUD. These are the only controls we get. So yes, we only got 4 controls, but one's for your atmospheric thrusters, turn them on and off. And this can be for one at the front, so we move forwards, we won't slow down, and we'll essentially cruise towards your destination. Turning it back on will come to a stop. Number 2 is then for your gatling gun to precisely aim any kind of enemies to come up against you. But then got a connector on the side to lock and unlock it. And then finally, a very important one for saving this vehicle, if you do want to keep it, when it's say falling down to the ground because it ran out of power, is your parachutes to open and close. Checking all the other tabs just in case there is a sneaky control somewhere. No, there is not. So now it's time to fly this thing around. So on the Earth-like planet, this is what we get. Bear in mind this is very compact and very cheap to build in survival mode. It does have a very respectful acceleration to get up to maximum speed. Come to a storm, that's what we get, so you have to be a bit careful if you are charging along towards your base, because as you can see it's going to take quite some time to come to a storm, and it may slam into your base and cause a lot of destruction. Of course, if you are quite crafty, you could actually utilize that large thruster at the back. So moving forwards, then tilting it like so, all the way around, can make use of that large atmospheric thruster at the back, and slow yourself down a bit quicker. And of course, looking at it like so, you can't actually fly like this, because that one atmospheric thruster at the front there is just enough to keep you off the ground when when facing straight down. Anyways, tilting all the way back up, realigning myself. There we are, moving left. And moving right, we are quite slow, but still very respectful for such a small ship. Coming to a stop. Moving down is going to be helped by gravity, so it should be faster than everything else. Then moving up. Here we go. That large atmospheric thrust is going to kick in. And there we are, it's quite comparable to actually moving down. Then for gyroscope controls, moving this thing around, it's surprisingly got a nice bit of weight on here. Not too overly responsive that a lot of small fighters tend to go for. It's not something that would just flick the mouse and it'll suddenly do a 180. No, this is quite meaty. And generally what a lot of medium-sized ships tend to go for. That's jolly good stuff. Feels very nice to fly. And it still feels very responsive despite being quite heavy. But other than that, that's pretty much it for the Hawk-moth. Just a nice little thing I saw on the workshop page. Means I did not have too much time to actually record a video today. And yes, it should be very good to use in survival mode. You can always upgrade this with more weapons if you want to do that. Slap a camera on top, maybe on top of one of the batteries if you want to do that. Put on another gyroscope if you want to be more responsive, or just build out into a much larger ship if you're that way inclined. But other than that, now I'm going to slam into the side of this mountain side. Here we go. And that'll be that for this video. We should be able to get up to maximum speed. Maybe might get to about 90, but here we go into the side. And that was surprisingly a big explosion and a big hole left behind. All we can see is part of the rear of this thing, so we've still got a large atmospheric thruster, a bunch of small ones, a bunch of batteries are still intact, so technically you could slap on a new cockpit and fly around. But no, I was actually expecting it just to bounce away, because few ships tend to do that. Still, there is that. But anyway, there'll be a link to a description below to download and play around yourself. Highly recommend you do. I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.